Welcome to the Build with Boundaries podcast. My name is Manaz, and this podcast is for mums who want to carve out time so that you can work in ways that work for you, your life, your family, and of course your business. Together, we will discover why you are not prioritising your business and the actions that you can take so you can live an intentional, productive, and fulfilled life without mum guilt. So let's dive in to today's episode. Hi, and welcome to episode 51 of the Build with Boundaries podcast. So today we are talking about conquering mum guilt and building a path to business success. When we're caught in the moment and just dealing with the day-to-day work, it can be really hard to see how we can connect what we're doing with where we're trying to go and that big vision. If you're resonating with that, then hopefully you will get some ideas on what you can do and how you can start thinking about this. So for myself in my journey, I've certainly felt that, mum guilt can really hold us back, and it definitely did hold me back because I always felt that guilty feeling when I was working in my business, feeling like I had to spend more time with my family, and then when I was with my family, feeling like there's something else that I needed to do as well, and not really being fully present in the moment. And I think that's something that a lot of mums can be faced with, especially when they're trying to build that business that is their passion business. Is something that not necessarily people around you understand. They definitely don't get your passion, and they don't understand why you're trying so hard, because let's face it, it's not an easy journey. Everything you're trying to do on top of what you have on, it can feel to them like keeping you safe. It's easier if you're not doing that, and I know I've been there before and I know what that feels like. So not having that support immediately around you can really affect you. So whether that's in your family or whether that's extended family or friends, if they don't understand fully what you're trying to do, which let's face it, they won't unless they're an entrepreneur themselves, it can feel like they just want to keep you safe and say, it doesn't matter and you don't really need to do this or get a proper job and all those kind of things. They just don't understand, and that's okay. We don't expect them to understand because we didn't know what we were getting ourselves into when we started, right? So what I think has been helpful has been to reframe that and really understand that all they're saying is coming from the right place, and they have our best interests at heart. Therefore, they don't want us to fail. And let's face it, we don't want to fail either, and that can hold us back, but that's probably a topic for another day. What I found certainly is that me considering that I could just give this up and not do this was never ever an option. And the reason is that I've always felt, and I'm sure many of you will resonate with this, having regrets is much worse than trying something that fails. Even though that failure is heartbreaking, living with regret that what if and I didn't try hard enough, that's not something that I was prepared to do, and that's why I continued and continued. And you can change things, you can adapt things, you can keep evolving. And a failure is only when we stop and say, I'm not doing this anymore at all in any shape or form. However, if you during that time are adapting and changing things, that's you learning from your experience. That's you tweaking things and making things easier and perhaps even aligning them better with your vision and with what you would like to do, because you will have changed over that time and over that experience, and making sure that your business is growing with you. So we have to think about mum guilt in a way that we can place it on the side of the table and not have it affecting us inside. It's something that will probably be there to some extent, but it doesn't need to control us and it doesn't need to take over. And for me, I think that realization, understanding that I had the power to make the choice, and even though other people around me might be saying different things, it's what I feel that I want to do that counts. And if you're at that stage of life or of business, or at that time where you just feel you need to do this now, then I encourage you to look around you and see what positive networks, what positive friends, colleagues, networking buddies, business buddies, whatever you have in terms of your contacts and connections, who do you have in your world who can support you? Because it's much more important to build those up than it is to try and work with the people who have a different mindset and who are not encouraging you, because sometimes it's actually easier to not have those conversations with those people, and giving yourself permission to say, I'm not going to discuss X, Y, and Z with these people. That's absolutely okay, and it's actually essential if you want to try and protect your own energy, because you don't want to feel like that's dragging you down. Now, I have seen this in other mums who I've worked with as well, and I think it's important to just make sure that you are feeling that you're not alone. You know, this is a struggle that many mums have, and when they are working, they are really passionate about their business and they want to make a difference. That's why they're here and doing all the things. It is very difficult, given that you have so many responsibilities and so many distractions and so many interruptions and so many other things going on that demand your attention. But the thing is, when you start looking at how you can connect your day-to-day work with what you're trying to build and taking the time pressure away, because if you have to have a client by the end of the day, can you imagine the sort of pressure and headspace that you'd be in? And if you took that away and you actually focused on, well, what else can I do? What else can I focus on that would be helpful? And, you know, just making sure you are spending time on the right things that will help you. Then what that means is you can make progress on those areas without that pressure of you have to achieve X by 3 o'clock or before the kids come home, that kind of thing. And taking that time pressure off can be so helpful, because sometimes some things take longer than you thought. Sometimes some things we end up making take longer as well, and sometimes things take longer because we'll start overthinking. But if we're really focused on how we spend our time, you will be looking at how to maximize that and how to get more out of your time. And that's the key, and that's what I have found has made the biggest difference to me, because if you have all the hours in the day to work, you could be busy doing something all day long. However, if you give yourself a limited time to work and you are then creating some boundaries around that, you are forced to think what you are going to fill that time with. But give yourself permission to have those boundaries. You know, having a start and an end time for your work is powerful, because it tells you when you begin, and it also tells you when that ends and something else begins. But they don't have to be these huge brick walls. They can be considered to be very positive in the way that they help you to stay in your lane. And I see them like that. So I do see boundaries differently, and I know they can feel very restrictive to many people, but obviously, you know, having a business called Build with Boundaries, I would have to have an opinion that boundaries are essential and they are really positive, which I definitely do. And that's what is important, to just think about them as keeping you on track. That's the best analogy that I could give you. You know, having a lane and having some kind of boundary on either side so that you are staying on that path and you're not veering off into the land of busy. That is where things can get tricky, because you end up getting into a whole lot of work that didn't actually need to be done in the first place. So I hope this episode has been helpful. Do go and check out my free resource, an overwhelm-free weekly action plan, and you can reclaim your week by starting with this action plan and taking it step by step every single day to make sure you are focusing with like full concentration, because it is very difficult to maintain that ongoing, and I know that this is a difficult thing. So if you want to start mastering your time, you can do this in under 30 minutes with my free resource. So grab that from the show notes. If you're watching this on Spotify, you'll see it on the show notes, and if you're on my website, then just click the little information button and you'll see all the text pop up underneath with the link. So good luck with that, and I will leave you until the next episode.